Welcome to Echoes of Ihsan, where where we like to really kind of get into the heart of Islamic thought,
Yeah,
you know. And today, I
absolutely.
think we've got a really fascinating topic lined up.
I think so too.
Um, we're going to be taking a deep dive into Sahih Muslim,
Okay.
specifically Book 33, which is all about destiny.
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
It is.
And it's something that, has captivated people, I think, for centuries,
Right.
right? This whole idea
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
of, like, are our lives kind of mapped out beforehand?
Right.
Is there, like, a plan? And if so, like, how much free will do we actually have?
Well, and it can be, I think, for some people, a little unsettling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It brings up a lot of questions uh, about accountability,
Mm-hmm.
choice,
For sure.
all of that.
Yeah.
But before we kind of go into those heavier questions,
Yeah.
let's just lay the groundwork.
Yeah. Let's see what the text actually says.
Exactly, exactly. So several hadiths in this book,
Yeah.
like 6390, 6391, 6392, they actually give like a really vivid description of what happens in the womb during development.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's really interesting because, um, they describe how an angel actually comes down
Wow.
and records a person's destiny.
Like really specifically.
Yeah, yeah, like their sustenance,
Okay.
how long they'll live,
Uh-huh.
the actions they'll take, um, even whether they'll experience, happiness or sorrow in their life.
Wow. That's pretty specific.
It is. And what's even more interesting is the timing of this. They say it all happens within 40 days and nights after conception.
Okay, so destiny is like set at 40 days.
It seems that way.
Wow, that's incredibly early.
It is really early.
Yeah.
I'm curious, does that number like have any particular significance? Because I know 40 pops up a lot
Right,
in
right.
Islamic tradition.
You're right. 40 is a really significant number. You think about Prophet Musa spending 40 days on Mount Sinai,
Right, right.
receiving revelation. Right. And then Ramadan, 40 days of fasting, which is, a time of purification and really deep self-reflection.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that that number comes up so often, it suggests that it's a time of like really profound transformation.
Okay.
A time when something really crucial is established.
So then those first 40 days in the womb become even more like
Like it's exactly.
significant.
Yeah.
It's like not only is the physical foundation being laid, but also like the the destiny foundation is being laid as well.
Right, right.
Which, I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing when you really think about it.
Yeah, it is.
But it also brings us to, I think, like the core question here, right?
Yeah.
If if our path is, set at such an early stage, then what does that actually mean for our free will?
Right.
Like, do our choices really even matter? And some of these hadiths actually like address this directly. 6398, 6400, 6402, they get right into this question.
That's like the big question is
It really is.
it's a question that has like, puzzled theologians and philosophers across so many different faiths, traditions.
Yeah, it's universal.
Absolutely.
So what is the Islamic perspective on that as presented in these hadiths?
Well, it's not like a simple answer. It's
Okay.
not just black and white.
Okay.
But one of the key concepts that they introduce is this idea of tawfiq.
Tawfiq. Okay, break that down for me.
Okay, so tawfiq, it can be understood, I think, as like divine facilitation or enablement.
Okay, I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay, so imagine like a farmer, right? Getting their field ready for planting. Because
Okay.
they till the soil, they sow the seeds, they, make sure it gets water and sunlight.
Right.
But ultimately, it's the inherent nature of that seed
Uh-huh.
that determines what kind of plant is going to grow.
Okay.
Right. So similarly, Allah, in his infinite wisdom,
Yeah.
he sets the stage for our lives.
Okay.
And our inherent nature, which is shaped by that preordained destiny, that guides our actions, our choices.
So it's like our nature is kind of inclined towards that path that we're meant to walk.
Right.
But it's not like we're being forced.
Right.
Whatever, like we're kind of being nudged in a certain direction.
Yeah, I like that, nudged.
Yeah. It makes me think of, the whole nature versus nurture debate.
Oh, that's a great connection.
Right. Like science is really looking at, how much is our genetics? How much is our environment
Absolutely. Yeah.
that shapes who we are, how we behave?
Totally.
And it seems like the wisdom in these hadiths is kind of aligning with that in a way.
It is, and it's adding, a spiritual dimension to it as well.
Okay.
So alongside, genetics and environment, there's this element of tawfiq, right? This
Mhm.
divine element that's shaping our inclinations and kind of guiding us towards our purpose.
It's like those two perspectives, science and faith, are both looking at the same thing,
Right.
right? They're both trying to understand how much agency do we really have?
Exactly. Yeah.
And each offers a different piece of that puzzle,
Hmm.
which is, I think, really fascinating. It makes you wonder, you know, if we really internalize this idea of tawfiq,
Yeah.
how does it change the way we view our own choices?
Right.
And even more importantly, how we judge the actions of others.
It's a really good point.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're acknowledging that there's this element of divine facilitation,
Yeah.
do we approach judgment differently?
Well, I think that it certainly challenges us to go beyond like just that surface level
Right.
of just good or bad, right or wrong, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot more complex than that.
So these hadiths are encouraging us to look deeper,
Yeah,
to really try to understand the web of influences that are at play.
yeah, I like that web of influences.
Right. And that brings us to a really interesting point
Okay.
that's brought up in Hadith 6407 and 6408,
Okay.
where they actually describe these situations
Mm-hmm.
where people seem to be living lives that contradict their final outcome.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean by that?
So, for example, someone might be outwardly very pious,
Yeah.
seemingly on the path to paradise, right?
Right.
But ultimately, their ending isn't what we would expect.
Okay.
Or on the flip side, you might have someone who struggles with, outward flaws,
Mm-hmm.
but their heart is pure,
Right.
and they end up in a more positive outcome.
Interesting.
So what's the message there?
Well, I think what it's really driving home is that our human perception is very limited.
Okay.
We don't always see the full picture.
Right.
We can't see what's going on inside a person's heart.
So someone might seem really righteous,
Yeah.
but maybe they have some hidden darkness
Oh, right. Exactly.
that we don't see.
Exactly. And vice versa, right? Someone who maybe makes a lot of mistakes,
Uh-huh.
maybe outwardly, has some flaws, but inside their heart is really pure.
Right.
And they have a really strong connection with Allah.
So these hadiths are reminding us that true judgment really belongs to Allah,
Absolutely.
because he's the only one who knows the whole story.
Yeah, the all-knowing. Right.
Right. It's kind of like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I like that.
But it takes it a step further.
Okay.
It's like, don't even judge a book by the first few chapters.
Right.
You really never know how the story's going to end.
You never know how it's going to unfold. Yeah.
And I think it reinforces the idea of like tests and trials in life.
Right.
That, our earthly experiences with all the ups and downs,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't the ultimate measure.
Absolutely.
It's about our internal state,
Right.
our intentions,
Yeah.
our submission to Allah's will.
Exactly.
That's what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about living a perfect life or even necessarily doing a certain number of good deeds.
It's about the heart.
It's the state of the heart.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
especially like in those final moments,
Yeah, absolutely.
that really makes you think about your own choices,
Yeah, it really does.
like how am I living each day?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the intention behind my actions?
Mm-hmm.
But it also raises a question for me.
Okay.
How do we reconcile this idea of preordained destiny with the idea of accountability?
Right.
Because it almost seems like a contradiction.
Right. It does. Yeah. It's a question that, a lot of people have wrestled with.
So how do we make sense of that?
Well, maybe we can get some insight from a really interesting exchange that's detailed in a series of hadiths, starting from 6409 and going through 6450.
Okay.
And it's an account of a debate between Adam and Musa.
Okay, wait a minute. A debate between Adam and Moses.
That's right.
Now, this is getting interesting. What were they debating about?
Well, the heart of their debate is really about this whole question of blame and accountability. So essentially, Moses is asking Adam, shouldn't you be held responsible for your transgression in the garden?
Right, the whole eating of the fruit.
Exactly.
Right.
Even if it was preordained, right? Even if it was part of Allah's plan.
So Moses is basically saying, even if it was destined,
Yeah.
you still made the choice.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, so what was Adam's response to that?
So Adam's answer is really thought-provoking.
Okay.
He reminds Moses that his transgression was already ordained by Allah, even before he was created.
Wow.
Right, so he's pointing to that divine decree and essentially arguing that he was set up to make that mistake.
So it's like Adam is saying, I was destined to do this.
Yeah.
How can you blame me?
Yeah, how can I be blamed for something that was already written in my fate?
Right, right.
So it's a heavy concept.
Yeah, it is.
That really is.
So how did Moses respond to that?
Well, the Hadiths don't really give us, like, Moses's direct response.
Okay.
But they do highlight something really important. Okay. Which is that when we judge actions, we have to take into account the divine will.
Right, right.
Otherwise, we're only getting, like, a partial understanding.
Okay.
Right? Because we as humans, we have limited knowledge.
Right.
Allah's knowledge is, like, all-encompassing.
Right, he sees the whole picture.
Yeah, past, present, future, the seen, the unseen, all of it.
It's like we're trying to understand, like, a giant tapestry, but we can only see, like, one tiny thread.
Right.
And we might see, like, knots or things that seem out of place.
Yeah.
But we're missing that, like, overall design.
It's a grand design.
That you can only see when you step back and see the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So this whole exchange between Adam and Moses, it's kind of inviting us to be more humble, to recognize the limits of our own understanding.
Sure.
It's not about excusing wrongdoing, but it's about approaching judgment with more compassion.
Yeah, and nuance, right?
Nuance, yeah.
Because it's not always, like, so clear-cut.
Right, right. Be more forgiving, both of ourselves and of others.
For sure, because we don't know the full story, right?
Right. We never know the
We don't know the struggles that someone might be going through.
Right.
The pressures they're facing, the tests that they might be going through.
The tests, yeah, that are preordained even.
Exactly.
Which leads to a concept that I think is really beautiful.
Okay.
In how it shows that there's order and purpose in creation.
Okay, I like that.
And that's this idea that Allah created everything with a measure.
With a measure.
And this is highlighted in Hadiths, like 6:4:16, 6:4:17, 6:4:14.
Okay, so what does it mean that everything has a measure?
Well, that's what I'm curious about, right?
Yeah.
Does it apply to, like, physical things?
Okay.
Like the size of a mountain or the lifespan of a star? Or is it more, like, metaphorical, relating to our character or our potential?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. These hadiths suggest that everything from the vastness of the universe to the smallest details of our lives, everything is designed and it's proportioned according to, like, a divine blueprint.
Okay. So there's a balance, a harmony, a preordained order to all of creation.
It's all part of the plan.
So it's not just physical dimensions,
right?
But also our nature,
yeah,
our capacities, our strengths, our weaknesses.
It's all kind of built in.
It's like even our capacity for good and evil is preordained.
Yeah, it's part of that measure.
But doesn't that bring us back to that tension between destiny and free will?
Right. Right.
Like, if even our inclination toward negative actions is predetermined, how can we be held accountable?
That's a really good question. And it brings us to something, it's a sensitive topic. That's addressed in Hadiths 6:421 and 6:422. And these Hadiths talk about the concept of a fixed portion of adultery for each person.
Okay.
And the different forms that it can take.
Now, I hope this isn't saying that adultery is condoned.
No, not at all.
Or inevitable, because that would be very problematic.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's really important to understand these hadiths within the broader context of Islamic teachings, which absolutely condemn adultery as a very serious sin.
Right, okay.
So it's not about promoting or excusing that behavior at all.
Okay.
Instead, what I think these hadiths are highlighting is the reality of temptation.
Okay.
Right. That struggle that we all have between our desires and our commitment to righteousness.
Okay.
It's acknowledging that we're all susceptible to temptation.
Right.
And maybe the intensity of that temptation varies from person to person.
So it's like we're each given a certain capacity.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
For certain actions, even negative ones.
Right.
Is part of our individual measure. But the choice of whether we give in to that temptation.
Right.
or whether we rise above it.
That's up to us.
That's ultimately up to us.
Yeah, we have the power to choose.
It's a reminder that we have agency.
Absolutely.
Even in the face of really strong temptations.
It's that internal battle, right? To overcome our desires.
And to align ourselves with our values.
Exactly.
With Allah's will.
It's all part of the human experience.
It really makes you think about the measures that are at play in your own life.
Yeah.
Right? Are there certain inclinations or tendencies that feel almost predetermined? And how does that awareness affect how you approach those things?
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about.
It's both humbling and empowering.
Yeah.
Humbling because it reminds us that we have limits.
Right.
But empowering because it pushes us to be proactive.
To strive.
To strive,
Seek Allah's help.
To overcome our weaknesses.
To do our best.
Right. It's all about that balance, isn't it?
It is.
Acknowledging what's preordained.
Yeah.
But also embracing the responsibility of making choices that align with Allah's will.
Whoa, with what we know is right.
Right. And this brings us to a concept that I think offers a lot of hope.
Okay.
In the midst of all this complexity.
Okay, I like that.
And that's the concept of fitra.
Ah, fitra, yeah.
We touched on it briefly before.
Yeah.
But Hadiths 6423 through 6433 really delve deeper.
Okay.
Into this idea of fitra.
This innate disposition towards Islam.
Right. This inherent inclination towards truth.
That we're all born with.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit more about what fitra actually means?
And how it relates to our understanding of destiny.
Sure. So fitra, it's like this pure essence.
Right.
That's within each of us. It's
Correct.
like a natural inclination to recognize and connect with our Creator.
So even if someone's raised in a different faith tradition, or even with no religion at all, that spark of fitra is still there.
That's the understanding.
It's like we all have this built-in compass pointing us towards Allah.
Exactly. It's the foundation upon which our beliefs are built, our understanding of the world.
Okay.
And, external influences, society, family, personal experiences.
Right.
All of that can shape how that fitra manifests.
Right.
But the essence is still there.
That's a really beautiful concept.
Yeah, it is.
It's like saying that deep down, everyone has the potential to connect with the divine.
Yeah, to find their way back to Allah.
But it raises some really tough questions.
Okay.
What about those who die before they even have the chance to explore that fitra?
Right.
Like infants who die before reaching an age of accountability.
Right.
Hadiths, like 6426, 6428, 6430, 6431, 6432, 6433.
Yeah, a lot of them talk about this.
They all kind of touch on this really sensitive topic.
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
What's the Islamic perspective on that?
Well, the Hadiths acknowledge that it's a very sad thing, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding it.
Right.
And ultimately, only Allah knows the fate of these innocent souls. It's one of those things where we just have to admit that our human understanding is limited. We can't fully grasp Allah's wisdom or his mercy.
It's a difficult concept to grapple with.
It is.
Especially for those who have experienced such a loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything in these hadiths that offers any solace?
Yeah. Is there any guidance?
Any guidance for those who are grieving?
Well, the hadiths don't really give a definitive answer.
Okay.
But they emphasize that Allah is the most merciful, the most compassionate. There's a hadith number 6434 that tells the story of Prophet Qadar killing a seemingly innocent child.
Yeah, I remember that story.
It's a hard one.
It's a very challenging story.
Yeah.
Why would a prophet take the life of a child?
Right. And at the time, it seemed like a really cruel and senseless act, even to Moses, who was with Qadar on this journey. But Qadar explained that the child was actually destined to grow up and lead his parents astray.
Oh, wow.
So by ending the child's life, he was actually preventing a greater harm
from happening to the parent.
Exactly.
So it's showing us.
It's that reminder.
Limitations of our understanding.
Yeah, of our perspective.
Right.
We might see something as tragic, but Allah knows the bigger picture.
He sees the unseen consequences.
Exactly.
Right.
The long-term implications that we just can't grasp.
So it's a call to trust in Allah's plan, even when we don't understand it.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's really hard.
Yeah.
To accept that there's a divine wisdom at work.
Absolutely.
Even when it's hidden from our view.
It's all part of the plan.
So it's about surrendering to the mystery.
Yeah.
Accepting that we don't have all the answers, and placing our trust in Allah's mercy and justice.
Because He is the most just.
Right, right. Yeah. And amidst this surrender, this acceptance of what we can't control, there's this message about focusing on what we can control.
Okay, I like that.
And this is shown beautifully in the story of Habiba.
Okay.
The wife of the Prophet.
Right. Yeah.
Hadiths 6438, 6439. And 6440 tell this story.
Okay.
So Habiba, she expresses concern for her family, and she asks the Prophet to pray that Allah will extend their lifespans, improve their well-being.
Make things good for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Prophet's response is so insightful.
Okay.
He explains that certain things, like our lifespans, the events that happen in our lives, the sustenance we receive, those things are predetermined.
Okay.
Praying to change those things won't alter what's already been decreed.
So you can't change what's meant to be.
And that can sound a little disheartening at first, right?
It can, yeah.
Like, what's the point of praying for those things?
Yeah, if it's already decided.
If it's already decided, right?
Okay.
But then the Prophet gives this really profound advice.
Okay, what's that?
He tells Habiba to pray for protection.
Okay.
From hellfire and the torment of the grave.
So it's a shift in focus?
Yeah.
From the things you can't control to the things you can.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So instead of trying to change the unchangeable,
yeah,
we should be focusing on seeking protection from ultimate punishment and working on our internal state.
Right, our relationship with Allah.
Right, to align ourselves with what pleases Him.
It's about that spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing where our true agency lies.
Absolutely.
We can't control everything that happens to us.
Right.
But we can control how we respond.
Our intentions, our actions.
Our intentions, our actions.
Yeah.
Our efforts to draw closer to Allah.
And that's where our power lies.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is.
Right. It's like, even within the framework of preordainment, we still have the freedom and the responsibility
to choose
how we respond,
how we face those challenges,
right,
how we cultivate our inner selves and nurture that connection with Allah.
And that brings us back to fitra.
Full circle, yeah.
Right. We're all born with this inclination towards truth, this connection to the divine.
It's like a seed that's planted within us.
It's a source of hope.
Absolutely.
And guidance. Right.
Yeah.
Even when we feel lost.
It's always there.
It's always there.
That path back to Allah.
Through our choices.
Our actions.
Our actions, our efforts.
Yes.
To live in accordance with His will.
It's how we nurture that fitra.
That divine spark.
Yeah.
And ultimately fulfill our destiny.
As His servants.
What a journey this has been.
It has been a journey, yeah.
Exploring destiny, free will, divine facilitation.
So many layers.
It's really given us a deeper understanding of our place in the universe.
Yeah.
And some practical guidance.
Absolutely.
On how to live with purpose and awareness and trust in Allah's plan.
Trust is so important. You know, we've been going pretty deep into Sahih Muslim, book 33.
Yeah.
Exploring this whole like multi-layered concept of destiny.
Yeah, from those
it's a lot to unpack.
It really is. Yeah. Like from that formation in the womb all the way to like, you know,
how it all kind of plays out.
Divine decree, human responsibility.
It's a lot.
We've covered a lot.
We have.
So I think in this last part, let's try to bring it back to like
the practical.
The practical, yeah.
Yeah.
How can these hadiths actually like offer us some guidance
in our daily lives?
In our daily lives, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's great to talk about all these like really profound theological ideas.
Right.
But like, how do they actually translate into
actions,
choices? Yeah,
choices, ways of being.
How do we live with this knowledge?
Yeah, how do we actually live with this knowledge? And I think, you know, going back to some of those stories and examples, like remember that hadith about people whose lives seem to contradict their final outcome,
the outward appearance versus the inward reality.
Like someone might seem like they're on the straight path to paradise.
Right, they're doing all the right things, but their actions lead them astray.
It just doesn't end the way you would expect.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that you can't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. Exactly.
We might see outward piety, but only Allah truly knows what's going on in someone's heart.
And that applies to us too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we can't get complacent.
Just because we're, doing all the rituals.
Checking off the boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
This hadith it's warning us against that, like, spiritual arrogance,
Right.
Saying, like, constantly check your intentions.
Yeah, purify your heart.
Purify your heart.
Make sure your actions are sincere.
Be vigilant.
Be vigilant.
Yeah, guard your heart against its negativity, distractions.
Yeah, the whispers of doubt.
The whispers, yeah.
The despair.
Sometimes the greatest danger comes from within.
Absolutely.
Not from outside.
It's an inside job.
Right. And that's why those practices like prayer, dhikr, reading the Quran, they're so important.
It's not just going through the motions.
Exactly. They're tools.
They are, yeah.
For building that inner strength, fortifying our faith.
Yeah, reminding us what's important.
Reminding us, yeah.
Yeah.
Of our purpose.
Keeping us connected.
Staying connected, even when the world feels chaotic.
Even when it's tough, yeah.
Right. So those practices, they're actually a manifestation of our free will.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
Right. We're making a choice.
Yeah.
To align ourselves with Allah's guidance.
To seek His protection.
Right.
To draw near.
And that, I think, brings us back to Tawfiq.
Okay.
That even though our destiny is preordained, we still have that choice.
To respond.
Guys.
To use the tools that Allah has given us to nurture that relationship.
Right.
It's a partnership.
It is. Yeah. And speaking of responding to circumstances, I'm thinking about Adam and Moses and how their whole debate emphasized the importance of divine context when judging actions.
Right.
Like, we might see something as bad or wrong.
Yeah.
But from Allah's perspective.
It might be part of a bigger plan.
Right.
Yeah.
A greater good.
A greater good.
We just don't have the capacity to understand.
That's the thing. We don't know.
Right.
We don't have the full picture.
And that's really humbling, isn't it?
It is. It should be.
It should be.
It should make us more compassionate.
More compassionate, yeah.
Yeah, both toward others and toward ourselves.
Right.
When we make mistakes.
Right.
When we fall short.
It's a call to, like, let go of that need to control.
Just surrender to the mystery.
Surrender, trust that even in difficulty, there's divine wisdom.
It's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan,
yeah.
A purpose that will eventually be revealed.
Even if we don't see it now.
Even if we don't see it now.
Yeah.
And maybe that surrender is what brings peace.
Yeah. Peace, acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the face of challenges.
Because challenges are inevitable.
Right, yeah.
It's not about being passive.
Right.
It's about understanding that our true power comes from aligning ourselves with Allah's will.
Not fighting against it. And Habiba's story, I think, also offers some really practical guidance on this.
Okay.
Remember, she asked the Prophet to pray for her family.
Yeah, for their health and well-being.
Yeah, hoping to influence their lifespans, their well-being.
Yeah.
But the Prophet, he advised her
to focus on what she could control.
Right. To focus her prayers
on
seeking protection from hellfire.
Right. The ultimate punishment.
Yeah. Right. And he emphasized that some things,
like lifespan,
worldly
circumstance,
they're predetermined.
Yeah, they're part of the decree.
But our spiritual well-being,
that's where we have agency.
That's what we can actively cultivate.
Through our choices.
Through our actions.
Our supplications.
Yeah.
Our connection with Allah.
So recognizing where our true power lies, we can't control every external event.
Right, but we can control.
But we can control our responses.
Our intentions, our actions.
Our intentions or actions, right? And that brings us back to fitra.
Yeah, full circle.
We're all born with that inclination toward truth, that connection to the divine.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a source of hope.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that even when we feel lost,
even when we stumble,
the path back to Allah is always there.
Always there.
Through our choices, our actions.
Sincere efforts.
Our efforts to live in accordance with His will.
It's how we nurture that fitra.
Right, that divine spark within us.
And ultimately fulfill our destiny.
As His servants. SubhanAllah. What a profound journey we've been on.
It really has.
Exploring these concepts of destiny, free will.
Divine decree, human responsibility.
Yeah, these hadiths from Sahih Muslim, book 73.
They're so rich.
They're so rich, they give us, not just this, like, deeper understanding of our place in the universe.
Yeah.
But also practical guidance for how to live with purpose.
Yeah, with awareness.
With awareness, with trust.
Trust in Allah's plan.
Trust in Allah's plan, yeah.
So important.
It's been an honor to delve into these teachings with you.
Likewise.
We hope our listeners
found this deep dive beneficial.
Beneficial, insightful.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah.
And, the journey doesn't end here.
It doesn't, no.
Keep pondering these ideas.
Keep seeking knowledge.
Talking to people.
Yeah.
Reading, reflecting.
Right.
May Allah guide us all.
To understanding and living in accordance with His will. And with that, we conclude this episode of Echoes of Ihsan.
Until next time.
Until next time. May peace and blessings be upon you.